Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Rule-Parkes, and as always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, the Bahamas could be a member of the World Trade Organization by the end of 2020. Tonight, the leader of the Christian community on Grand Bahamas shares why Bahamians must be educated on what this could mean for the country. The Bahamas is the only country in the Western Hemisphere that has yet to become a member of the World Trade Organization. And while the government seeks to change that by the end of 2020, President of the Grand Bahama Christian Council, Pastor Robert Lockhart, says the government must do its part to ensure that Bahamians understand what this will mean for the country. And he says it must be done strategically.
What it all means in layman terms, where people can understand. And for me, what I say is the pros and the cons, but let's bring it down to the most common denominator. How will this affect the most simplest Bahamian family living in Baintown with 3 children, 5 children? How would this affect the little Bahamian boy that lives in Grand Bahama? How would this affect him positively and negatively?
Some experts believe that the country has already suffered great losses in the financial services sector and with economic partnership agreements for not being a member. And they say the idea of Bahamianization must fall away. But Lockhart believes there's one question that must be answered. What does opening up the country's market mean?
What does it mean when it says we're going to have to open up the Bahamian market to other countries? I think as Bahamians also we are committed some way to the concept of Bahamianization, protecting Bahamians' jobs, protecting the Bahamas and reserving the Bahamas for Bahamians as we interact with the rest of the world. We're aware of the fact that we're a small country, and as we enter into trades with bigger countries, whatever markets we have in other countries, those markets are a whole lot bigger. And the key is in most trade agreements, the bigger countries have a tendency to win.
He also shares this thought.
You're competing with people that have bigger markets, a whole lot more people than we have, and so in a lot of ways they already have an unfair advantage over us if we don't put special things in place to protect us. European counterparts have been the masters of making smaller countries but in a sense, they've colonized us for hundreds of years, and they have a tendency of creating systems that just colonizes the rest of the world. And I think when you look at the World Trade Organization and a small country like us becoming a part, sometimes you do wonder if this is a modern form of economic colonialization.
Pastor Lockhart adds that becoming a member of such an agreement also means that the country will have to give up some level of their sovereignty, and that could come at a cost.
Governments will no longer be listening to what their people want them to do, but they will also have to listen to what outside forces tell them to do. And sometimes it seems if it's those outside forces, even if your people don't agree to be a part of these organizations, you more have to bend to their rules than to what your people that you represent. Sometimes you feel as if you're seeing it when you see some of the legislations that are being passed and you read the requirements of WTO. Everything is falling in line. And so you feel as if there's outside forces sort of dictating where we go, how we go, and what we do.
He is urging Bahamians to educate themselves on the World Trade Organization before the country officially joins. In other news, 2 Bahamian
42-year-old Tavares Beckford, also known as Foe, appeared before Deputy Chief Magistrate Debbie Ferguson to be formally charged on murder and attempted murder charges. It is alleged that on October 30th, 2018, Beckford, being concerned with another, did attempt to cause the death of Omar Punch Penn. and did allegedly commit the January 13th murder of local businessman Lester Adderley Sr. He was not required to enter a plea for both charges, and bail was denied. Meanwhile, 25-year-old Taj Brown was charged for harboring a criminal. It is alleged that on May 17th in Freeport, Brown, knowing that Backford had committed murder, did aid in the concealment of Backford with the purpose of enabling him to evade authorities. Brown pleaded not guilty to the charge and elected to have his matter heard in the magistrate's court. Bail was denied. The two were also formally charged with 1 count of possession of dangerous drugs. It is alleged that on May 17, 2019 in Freeport, the two were found in possession of 15 grams of suspected Indian hemp with an estimated street value of $75. Backford pleaded guilty while Brown pleaded not guilty to the charge. Brown was granted bail in the amount of $500 and Backford was fined $200 or serve 4 consecutive months in prison. The pair were also formally charged with 4 counts of possession of unlicensed firearms. It is alleged that on the same date, time, and place, the pair was found in possession of 1 black .45 magazine, a component part of a firearm, a bronze pistol barrel, 1 black .40mm Glock pistol, and a black and gray .223mm Anderson rifle without a license. Both pleaded not guilty to all counts. Bail was denied. The men were also charged with 2 counts of possession of ammunition with the intent to supply and 1 count of possession of ammunition. It is further alleged that on May 17th in Freeport, they were found with 71 rounds of .40 ammunition and 42 rounds of .223 ammunition without being a holder of a firearm certificate at the time, authorizing them to possess the same and with intent to supply to another. It is also alleged that the men had in their possession 13 9mm bullets. They both pleaded not guilty to the charges and bail was denied. Before leaving the court, Backford asked that Deputy Chief Magistrate Ferguson request to transfer his matters to New Providence. He also asked that he be given no meat in his diet as he is a Rastafarian and is vegan. The men were remanded and all matters were adjourned until August 28, 2019. Now the men can apply to the Supreme Court for bail. Jamila Mizik, ZNS Network News.
Meanwhile, a Freeport resident arraigned today on 2 counts of attempted murder. 47-year-old Sean Saunders of number 36 Perth Lane, South Bahamas, appeared before Deputy Chief Magistrate Debbie Ferguson to hear those charges. This arraignment is in connection with a shooting incident that took place on Saturday, May 18th. Reports are that shortly before 4 a.m., a male reported to police that while traveling in his vehicle on East Settlers Way, a dark-colored vehicle pulled alongside his vehicle and shot at him, injuring his hand and causing damage. Now, Saunders was not required to enter a plea. The matter was adjourned to September 5th for trial. Bail was denied and he was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services until trial. Well, as police on Grand Bahama continue their investigation into the island's latest murder, a group of youth leaders in the community are expressing concern over recent criminal activities. They say something must be done to put an end to the senseless killings. Italia Hall reports.
President of Reach Out Youth Ministries, Dudley Said, says for years now he has made it his mission to assist in the fight against crime in the country. But he says he's saddened by the recent shooting incident on Grand Bahama, as well as the recent murder.
We had a recent murder in Freeport a day ago. And what is so alarming, I want to speak of Bimini also. Bimini is a small island. I don't think they had no murders in that island in a while. And for them to have 2 murders less than a month, it tells you that something is wrong in our country. The men can't resolve their problems without talking. The only thing now they want to do is take a gun and take a life.
Said says he has partnered with other leaders in the community, but he needs more help. Former educator Cecil Thompson says crime is everybody's business and it will take a concerted effort to fix the problem.
Basically, I'm speechless by the senseless murders and shootings that have been taking place in our country.
Youth leader Narada Scott says social media can play a major role in the war on crime, but he's asking persons to be more sensitive and responsible when using these platforms.
Social media is a real giant platform. We need to try curve the ball, When our young people see any fight happening, look at it now. They grab their cell phone and they say, a movie is going on. So you got to look at the mindset, how you going to curve that mindset.
Said is appealing to young men to stop the crime.
The young men out there in Nassau or any island in the Bahamas, you guys need to, let's cease for a minute, man. Think, your life is precious. Gun is not the only way, the solution to deal with conflict. And stop the killing in our country because it's destroying the Bahamas.
It's Halia Hall, ZNS Network News.
Switching gears now, the Bahamas Feeding Network continuing their mission to help the less fortunate. The organization on Grand Bahama to distribute food vouchers to church leaders and other nonprofit groups. Rumiko Knowles has more.
What started out as a question to God resulted in a non-profit organization that would feed thousands of persons weekly. Executive Director of the Bahamas Feeding Network, Philip Smith, says he was once the president of a real estate development company, and although he was successful, he was not content. That's when he began to question God about the meaning of life.
It was a question I had from a 7-year-old kid. And he took me to a verse, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And another verse that I mentioned earlier today, inasmuch as you have done unto one of the least of these, you have done unto me. And so I felt that the way to peace, that it wasn't happiness that we are seeking, it's peace. And the only way to peace is through God. And that peace comes as we help others, as we love.
2 to 3 times a year, the Bahamas Feeding Network donates gift cards to churches, soup kitchens, and feeding organizations, which allows them to shop at various wholesale grocery stores. Administrator of the Bahamas Red Cross, Stephanie Barr, says, since the hurricane, there has been an increase in the amount of persons needing assistance, and she's thankful for the donation.
We have our distributions daily, the 63 persons, where our driver goes out and delivers them to our shut-ins and those less fortunate. And we also have persons who come to the door, and so we've partnered, with other persons who come. And so this will go a long way in what we're doing and what we're trying to do to assist in feeding Grand Bahama.
President of the Bahamas Christian Council, Reverend Robert Lockhart, says the church will continue to be a part of these initiatives as it is in line with the teachings of Christ.
We know that Jesus has taught us to clothe the naked, feed the hungry, visit the sick, and reach out to those that are the most vulnerable in our communities. And that's something we'll continue to do, and always partner with those who want to partner with us in making sure that we love our fellow man, that we be there for one another, and make sure that all of us have the basic needs in life.
Rumiko Knowles, ZNS Network News.
You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Stay with us. There's more news right after the break.